Hi guys, I'm Ivory and today I'm going to be talking about all my favorite products of 2020. I know not a lot of good has come out of 2020, but here's hoping that next year is going to be better, but probably not. If you want my opinion, I don't think a lot of things are going to change, but I want to desperately be proven wrong. But today I'm going to be talking about all the products that I have been really enjoying this year. I'm also going to go ahead and put timestamps in my description box because let's face it, I've seen my analytics. I know you guys are here for the foundation part. If you need to just skip to that, that's fine, but it would be nice if you stuck around for the rest. I'm just saying. So I'm gonna go in order. So the first category is going to be skincare. The first thing I'm gonna mention is Curology. You guys know that I have been using Curology for over a year at this point, and I made a whole video on my year-long journey using Curology. It has made a huge difference. I'm aware that I still have blemishes, but if you saw what my skin looked like a year ago, you would see a huge difference. And all of that is because of Curology. I know because I stopped using Curology after the 1 year mark for a couple months just to see maybe I don't need it anymore. Maybe I could use something else now that most of my acne has calmed down, and my acne just went right back to how bad it was. Well, not as bad, but my acne did start coming again, larger and also more frequently. As soon as I realized I cannot live without Curology, I went ahead and ordered it, and I'm aware that I still have work to do with my skin, but the reason why it's gotten so much better is because of Curology. Moving on to primers, the only one that I really used all year consistently is the L'Oreal Infallible Matte Lock, so I feel like it's the only one that I can really talk about. All year, I basically use that for my wear test. Sometimes, depending on the foundation, the primer makes no difference, but it never makes the foundation wear worse. It'll either help the wear time of a foundation or it does nothing if the foundation's already good on its own. So that's really the only one that I can recommend, especially for oily skin. I also would like to know what your favorite primer is because, as you know, L'Oreal is not cruelty-free and I no longer buy non-cruelty-free makeup products. Right now I'm using the Dermablend, but I would like a drugstore alternative. So if you have any suggestions that would replace my Infallible Matte Lock, that would be great. Moving on to probably what everyone's favorite part is about my channel, the foundations. I will say some of the foundations that I'm going to mention overlap with last year's. So in my description box, I will link a couple different videos that will really complement this one. The first video is going to be the best and worst foundations of 2019 because a lot of the foundations in there are still good, but they didn't make it to this year because I just stopped using them. I ran out, something like that. New products came along that took their place, that kind of thing. And then the next two videos are going to be the best and worst hydrating, dewy, luminous, natural looking foundations, and then the best and worst matte foundations for oily skin. And those two videos, I go in depth with a lot of different foundations. I mean, pretty much every foundation I've ever tried in my entire life. So I would watch those two videos over the best and worst foundations of 2019, if I'm gonna be honest, but I will include those videos because I feel like those really will complement this section of my video that I'm doing right now. The first one I'm gonna talk about is the L'Oreal Infallible Fresh Wear. Love isn't even enough. Whatever level there is above love, that's where I'm at with this foundation. It has really great coverage. For me, it's medium full, but for me, I think it wears the longest and the best if I have medium coverage with it, so maybe like 2-3-ish pumps. It smells really nice, it has SPF. No matter if I have a little bit of drier skin that day or I'm like really oily, no matter what skin type I'm having that day, it always has my back. This did replace my CoverGirl Vitalist Healthy Elixir. I don't know why I'm bringing that up. I feel like I've grieved long enough the loss of that foundation. You know what the problem is? They really just pulled the rug out from under me. I feel like there were no signs that it was being discontinued. Because if I had known, I would have gotten backups. They didn't even give me a chance to do that. And someone, I forget who, said that maybe the reason why they discontinued it is because CoverGirl wasn't always cruelty-free and now they are, and maybe they're making a cruelty-free version of that foundation. But it's been many moons later, and where is my damn foundation? I just wish we had more time. But in any case, this is the replacement. It's not as full coverage as the Vitalist Healthy Elixir, but it's pretty good. It's comparable. So if you're looking for a really good drugstore foundation, this is a really great one. The next one I'm going to talk about is the IT Cosmetics Your Skin But Better CC Cream. This is the matte version. I have not tried the original version, but I would assume it's good because this one is amazing. It is quite matte. I believe it says that it's a natural matte. It's definitely more matte than it is natural, but this looks so good. The coverage is amazing. The fact that it has SPF, anti-aging hyaluronic acid, I believe. So it's not only giving great coverage and wears really well, but it's also doing a lot of great things for your skin. I love this foundation. I was not expecting to love it as much as I did, but this one is one of my new favorite ones. But this foundation, even though it is expensive, if you go on their website, they have multiple sizes, but there is a size bigger than this one. It's like 3 or 4 times bigger than this, and it's only 15 bucks. So if you were curious about this foundation, I would get that one because 15 bucks sounds a lot better than the full size, which I think was 38. 40 bucks. It was somewhere in that range, but get the smaller size that's cheaper if you are just wanting to try it first before fully committing to it. The next foundation I want to talk about is the Wet n Wild Photo Focus. This was, I believe it was last year's favorite too. I am still on the same bottle. I thought I was almost out, but I've been using this consistently over this year and I still love it. And even when I like another foundation, I always use this and mix it in just because I'm really trying to go through it so that I can say I finished a foundation, because I don't think I finished a foundation all year this year. I mean, because of the pandemic, I just wear less foundation in general, but every single time I wear foundation, I almost always include this. So I'm not really sure why you're not empty yet. Sometimes I feel like, you know, Drew Barrymore from 50 First Dates? Every night her dad and her brother do all these things to set up the next day for her. And then there was a scene where her brother was putting like a tiny bit amount of shampoo back into her bottle. I feel like someone's doing that with my foundation so that it never ends. But I love this foundation. I loved it last year. It still holds true to this year. Great foundation. The next foundation I want to talk about is from Rare Beauty. This is the brand with Selena Gomez. At first, I wasn't sure if I liked this foundation. I thought it was okay. It wasn't great, but it was all right. As my skin is normalizing, I'm liking it a lot more. I will say on its own, I really only like it during like winter, drier times. During the summer, it's like all right, but I like to stick to this only in the cold months when I'm a little bit drier. And I feel like that is when this really shines. The next foundations I want to talk about are by Fenty, both of them, the hydrating and the matte one. I really enjoyed both foundations. If I had to pick one, as of currently, my vibe has been more natural skin-like finishes, so I probably would go towards the hydrating one. But old me that wanted everything to be matte, no shine, nothing, would love the original matte version. But I really do like both. It's just whatever I'm feeling in terms of finish. I will say that the hydrating one doesn't look super dewy. It just looks more skin-like than the matte one, but both wear beautifully. They have great wear time, great coverage. They do oxidize a little bit, so if you have to shade match online, whatever foundation shade you think you are, you might want to go a level down. But if you have one of the other foundations, say you have the hydrating one and you were thinking of getting the matte version, the colors will be exactly the same, because I've done a video where I've done half and half using the same shade and they match perfectly. And the last foundation I want to talk about is the JCat Aqua Assurance foundation. I accidentally left it upstairs, so I will add an image somewhere on the screen so that you know what to look for. It is a powder foundation. I really loved how lightweight it was. It's also a very quick, easy, on-the-go foundation because you don't have to set it. It's a powder foundation. So I really loved how much lighter my base felt because I didn't have to set my face. It does great with touch-ups. It lasts pretty well. The one drawback I do have about that foundation is it doesn't do super well with texture. So if you have pretty good skin, I think you'll like it. If you're like me, like I don't think it would cover this super well. That seems to be a problem with a lot of powder foundations. It just doesn't move quite the same way a liquid foundation would. So that is a tiny drawback. However, it does look better as time goes on. When I first put it on my face, I was like, I don't know. It looks kind of weird and it's clinging on my skin kind of unflatteringly. As I gave it more time, I started to like the foundation a lot more. So when your oils mix in, the overall look of it will get better. But initially you might not like it, but just give it a chance before you decide it's not for you. All right, so we are going to move on to concealers. I only have two. So the first one is going to be the ColourPop No Filter Concealer. This one is in medium 26, but I would say medium 22 is a better shade for me if you want to go lighter, because this one, you can see it's only about one shade lighter than my actual foundation. So if you're looking to barely brighten up your under eyes, then I think medium, what did I just say? 26, sorry, I already forgot, would be the shade for you. But if you want it to be a little bit brighter than that, medium 22 was the one I really liked. And it was a really good undertone for me as well. But this one is really creamy, great coverage, easy to blend. Some concealers, when you apply them, you have to blend them right away or else they don't move anymore. I hate concealers where you have to work in sections, like put a little bit under your eyes, blend it, go to the other eye, blend it. It makes me feel kind of rushed, and a lot of the times makeup is a very cathartic process for me, so I like to take my time. But this foundation, you can, I just scratched on my face. Ew, there's foundation on the bottle. We're gonna try that again. But this concealer, you can apply it to the entire face and then go in and blend. You can take your time with it and it's flexible, it's gonna move. I never had a problem with it creasing. I will say, however, I am not the best candidate when it comes to concealers, and I think I've said this before, but I just don't have super dark under eyes, and I also don't have very creasy under eyes, so I'm somewhat easy to please. That being said, I still really enjoyed this one, and this is actually my second bottle. And then the second one that I've been using very often is the Flower Beauty Light Illusions Full Coverage Concealer. It is comparable to the Tarte Shape Tape, I would say. This is a really great dupe. The coverage, like I said, is great. Even though I don't have a lot of darkness to conceal, I know when a concealer is full coverage, and this one definitely is. Again, it's very easy to blend. You can take your time with it, and a little bit goes a long way. A lot of the times I just dot right where the darkness is, and even this tiny little dot will create like that triangle that people always do with just a tiny tiny amount. So a little bit will go a long way, and for this price, it's definitely worth looking into. The next category is powders. So the first one I'm going to talk about is the Dermablend Loose Setting Powder. I have said so many good things throughout the years about this one. I still use this all the time. It is so good. It is very finely milled. The problem that a lot of people have, including me, is when you see white, you immediately think it's gonna lighten up your complexion. And even if it says translucent, it's never really translucent. And I get that. But this one is probably the closest thing you will get to translucent. There's no white cast with this one, and every single time I set my face, at first, I think because it mattifies my skin so much, it looks like my skin is lighter, but as soon as I spray, everything's normal. So I would say like this is pretty much translucent. But if you are afraid of the white, they do have other colors, so people with darker skin can use those instead. And whenever I had to add powder underneath my foundation, not over, but underneath the foundation, this is the only one that I trust, because this one doesn't pill up on me. It doesn't create those weird balls. It doesn't make it harder to blend the foundation. This is probably going to be in best of 2021, if I'm going to be totally honest. The next powder is the ColourPop No Filter Setting Powder in the shade Translucent. I would say that this is a pretty good dupe to the Dermablend one, and this is way cheaper, so if you can't afford this one, try this one first. Again, it's one of those where translucent really does mean translucent. I never found that it lightened up my skin, and it makes my skin look nice and smooth. Moving on to bronzers, I've only used one basically the entire year, and that is the Morphe mini bronzer in the shade Debutante. There's something about the shade that is it's just perfect, because every single time I try and use a different bronzer because I'm like, oh my god, I'm using this way too much, I just don't like it. It's not the same. This color is just, it's perfect on me. It looks a little bit dark now, but you just need a little bit. I'm using it right now. I mean, this is the mini bronzer. This isn't even the full size. It's only $6, and then if you use an affiliate code, or what's the one where you save animals, that I'll put it up on the screen because I care more about animals than putting money into the pockets of people that are already millionaires. I would say about 99% of the time ever since I got the bronzer, and I still haven't hit pan. I think I'm close, because you see there's like a little divot here, and you know how when you hit pan it's like those little bars, it's like it kind of looks like a waffle at the bottom of this, so I feel like I see some waffleage, but I'm not quite there yet. And this has been years in the making, and that's the only bronzer I'm even going to mention in this video, because the other ones, they don't even matter. That's the only one that I use basically all year that I think is worth mentioning. I don't know why I'm saying it all angrily. I'm in a great mood. It's just when I really love something, it comes off aggressive. We're gonna move on to blush. So the first one, my favorite one out of all the ones that I'm going to talk about, is the ColourPop Super Shock Cheek. This is in the shade Count Me In. So a little side story, but it's relevant. Yesterday I swatched this on my arm because I bought a new blush, and I was like, oh no, this looks kind of similar to blushes I already have. Are they the same? So I was swatching a bunch of blushes on my hand, and afterwards I washed it off. I carried on throughout my day, and then later in the day I took a shower. It's the next day, it's today, and I've washed my hands numerous times today, and you can still see there's a hint of that blush still on my hand, and like it survived multiple hand washes, a shower, and there's still remnants of it left. I will swatch it even though it's gonna last another 2 to 4 days, but this is the color. It is beautiful. The one gripe I have about this blush is you can't use a brush with this, because whenever I swirl it in, the texture of it is almost like putty, almost like moist clay where it's malleable. I don't know if I'm confusing you guys, but I feel like my analogies might not be the best. But whenever I use a brush, the product would stick to the brush and it wouldn't really adhere to my face. It just didn't look right, because the brush would almost make it look streaky, and it also would kind of remove my foundation. That's not what you want to do with this. What you want to do is you want to use your finger, and you're going to swirl it, and then you're going to just pat it on your cheeks, and the warmth of your cheeks will kind of spread it, and that's how you want to do it. It will not lift off your foundation, and when you blend it out, it looks absolutely beautiful. And like I said, I have washed my hands multiple times, showered, and it still stayed on, and that is one of the greatest things about this foundation. Why do I keep saying foundation? The best thing about this blush is that it lasts such a long time. If you're like me, blush is one of the first things to fade on my face. My face just eats blush. So whenever I do my base, I almost have to add on more blush than normal because I know it's gonna fade. But this one lasts a great time. The only problem I have is that I can't use a brush. I have to use my finger, and it's a little bit tedious. You have to put in some love. It will take a little bit longer, but it's worth it. And then the next blush is by Sigma. This is in the shade Cor de Rosa. In the pan, it looks like just, you know, your typical average shade. Hey Duchess, what's up? How are you? Oh wait, what time is it? Oh, it's 7:30. Is that what it is? You're hungry? Let's go eat. Okay, sorry, I forgot to feed both my dogs. It was a half hour late, so it was justified for Millie to come down here and tell me that. She knows time. She knows when it's time for dinner. She was very patient to wait a half hour before coming to get me because my husband was taking a nap, so the door was closed, so she couldn't get to him. So that's why she came down to me. But she's very vocal when we are late. There have been times where I'm just 2 minutes late, like 7:02, and she will come up to me and be like, like just crying. My other dog, Willow, however, she knows it's time, but if I don't feed her or I'm late, she's just kind of like, okay, my parents don't want me to eat, I'm just gonna starve, and that's the way life is. And okay, like she never makes a fuss about it, but Millie is the one that keeps them on schedule. I don't even know where we were. I think we were talking about blush. So this is the ColourPop one and this is the Sigma one. You can see it's just a little bit more rosy, but this color on my face, it looks like, you know that color you get when you put on your bronzer and then you kind of overlap with your blush. Like the blush is a little bit higher, but there's that point where they meet. This is the color that it kind of looks like. So if I ever kind of just want to skip the step of both blush and bronzer and I only want to do blush, this is the one that I will do because it will give that illusion almost that it is a little sculpted, but also with the blush. And I also really love using this as eyeshadow as well. Whenever I want to do something quick, super easy, few steps, I'll just use this, add it to the cheeks, get an eyeshadow brush, and then just apply it to the eyes, and then that's it. What's the next category? Highlighters. So the first highlighter is the e.l.f. I think this is called the Moonstone. This is in the color Blush Gems. At first when you touch it, it feels dinky, it feels cheap. I mean, even the packaging it's cheap, but when you apply it on the face, it's just, there's something so magical about it. I'm not wearing it right now, I'm just naturally this oily. Okay, thank you very much. Hopefully you'll be able to see right here. It's just a really nice glisten, and this is really packing it on. You guys know I'm not a huge highlighting fanatic. I like it to be really subtle, super subdued, and I like that it starts off not super bright and beaming. I like that it's just a barely there highlight. You can absolutely get it there, and I've done it before, like really pile on the highlight, but I prefer buildable highlights as opposed to highlights that are just naturally like bam, and then you have to spend all this time toning it down. Also, just the undertone of this is great because I have so many champagne, golden, bronzy type of highlights, and for the most part they all look the same but a little bit different than the other. But out of all the highlights that I have, this one is my favorite undertone. I just think it complements my skin the best, so that's why I prefer this one versus any of the other ones, including my high-end ones. And then the next one I'm going to talk about is by Sleek Makeup. This one is called Cleopatra's Kiss, mostly for just this shade, although this whole thing is very affordable. These two are creams, so I don't use them very often, and I don't really like the shade actually, now that I think about it. It's got like a weird white pearl glitter in it that I don't like. So honestly, the only shade that I really like is this one. I don't know what it is about these highlighters, the ones that feel kind of like cheap. So this one, it feels kind of dry. I'm the worst swatcher in the world. It's right here on my arm. It is so pretty. You do have to go a little bit light-handed with this one. This is teetering on too much highlight for me, for my taste, but again, the undertone of it is so good that it's okay. All right, so the next category is eyeshadows. So the first one that I want to talk about that is the most recent is the Christy Beauty and ColourPop at Foresight palette. Now this color story it's not exactly what I would like, but the quality of them is so amazing. It can be a little bit powdery, so do your eyes first. My favorite shades are obviously the tame ones because I'm a basic bitch and I'm boring, but this green is surprisingly wearable. There's a little bit of a brown to it, so when you want to dip one little toe into the wild section, this is what I'll go to. But this gold, absolutely gorgeous. All the colors blend really great, and also this color, Old Growth, it also looks really nice as a blush, so it is multi-purpose. And I assume that this color might actually look really nice as a bronzer for some people. Actually, let me swatch this and compare it to my current bronzer. Okay, wow, they are really similar. This one right here is from the ColourPop eyeshadow palette, and this is my current bronzer. So yeah, they are very similar. So you can definitely use that brown shade. It's called Puffball to bronze if you really want to. And again, quality is amazing, and because of those two shades, it's multi-use for the rest of the face. The next palette is an oldie but a goodie. It is the Anastasia Modern Renaissance. I've been using this a ton lately. The color story doesn't look like much, but that means it's right up my alley because if it's boring, it is for me. But like I said, I like just a little bit of a wild side, which is why you have these cranberry shades. I love the quality. I'm always surprised every single time I dip into this why I don't use it more often, because even though I do use it fairly often, I also don't want to neglect my other palettes. But then I always come back to this one and I'm like, oh, so good. Even though the formula is great, it is a little bit crumbly. You have to do your eyes first because the fallout is a lot, but it doesn't bother me because the quality is still really great, and I always create really good looks with this eyeshadow palette. The next one is the Urban Decay Naked Heat palette. Again, another basic B palette, but I really like this color story because it's easy. Everything goes. You can't really mess it up. The quality of it is great. The ratio between mattes and shimmers is good. You can easily do a wearable look. You can amp it up and make it a nighttime look with this region right here. You can't mess up with this color story. It's idiot proof. Watch me create a horrible look with this palette and I'll be eating my words. The next palette I want to talk about, it might be a duplicate of last year's, I'm not sure, but it is the Tati Beauty Texture Neutrals. It is upstairs. I don't know why I forgot it, but I will insert an image so that you know what it looks like. I still use that palette all the time. Again, it's another effortless palette where you really can't go wrong. As great as the palette is, I will say that the shining moment of that palette is the glitters. I've said this so many times, but I just want her to create palettes with only that glitter and like different colors. They don't require a glitter primer. I could just apply them with my fingers onto my eyes, and for the most part they will stay. As long as I don't touch them too much, they will stay. They don't fall on my lashes, they don't fall on my face. The rest of the colors, they're good, they're nice, but they are colors that I already have and I kind of have them for a cheaper price. But what I notice a lot of the time is I'll create a look using the Urban Decay Naked, and then I'll dip into the Tati palette, grab a glitter, and then apply that to the lid, and it just kind of oomphs the look. It just goes from like, okay, that's nice, to glamorous. So the glitters are the shining moment of the palette, but I will say that the other shadows, they're still good, except I could do without the sequins row. I wish instead of that row we had just more different color shadows to complement the rest of the color story, but it's not my palette, it's Tati's. So all right, and the next category is lips. The first one I'm going to talk about is the ColourPop Just a Tint. These came in a bundle. I forget the bundle name, but the colors that I'm referring to are Cherry Pickin' and Gimme S'more. They have a decent amount of pigment to them. They're nice and creamy. They smell, what does it smell like? Kind of like peaches. Hi Millie, what's up? Hey baby, tell the people what you smell. Do you smell peaches? Okay. All right, well, as usual, she has no opinion. The next color that came in the bundle is Gimme S'more. They're not this pigmented on my lips, especially since my lips are already red. So it kind of just looks like your lips but better, but they are nourishing. They smell really nice. They're just easy on the go type of products where you just kind of throw them in your purse, and then whenever you have dry lips, which is very common because it's winter, these are just great to apply, but they also give a decent amount of pigment. So these are great, very beginner friendly. The next ones are the glosses from the Smokey Glow and Midas Cosmetics collaboration. These smell so good. They smell like candy. This one is just a fun, vibrant, pinky red. Look how bright that is. And usually when I wear this color, I don't wear anything underneath because this is so opaque already that I don't need to. So I just wear the color, and then when it wears off, it leaves a really nice stain. And then my favorite is actually Never Dull, which I never thought I would like because it does have a little bit of shimmer in it, but it's just the perfect amount of shimmer where it doesn't look glittery. It just looks shiny and juicy. I'll put it on top of my liquid lipstick right now. See, it just, heavenly. It's a light pink, so it doesn't show up too much. It won't take away from the base color because, as you can see, my original lip color, you can still see it just fine. It's just a great lip topper. It's super comfortable. It's not too sticky. If you're gonna get just one, I mean, it really depends what you like, but my favorite is Never Dull, and then the second one would be Hi Friends, just because it's still a really great color, but I don't always have an eye look to go with this color. Okay, putting gloss on the back of your hands is not a good idea because everything you touch sticks to the back of your hand now. That was not wise. The next lip is the Wet n Wild Mega Lash Liquid Catsuit. This is in the shade Give Me Mocha. I don't know how many times I've used this. I use this 99% of the time. This is my favorite product to use. I love liquid lipsticks more than any other lip product, I would say. If I'm using a liquid lipstick, it's most likely this color. It's just one of those my lips but better color. It is super long lasting. It feels really comfortable on the lips. It does not crack on me. And then the last product is another liquid lipstick by Ofra. This one is called Havana Nights. I love a dark vampy red. Again, super long lasting, not overly drying, which can happen with liquid lipsticks. This has great wear time. It doesn't really fade even when you eat. And this is just such a great dark red. It just makes your whole look just sexier, a little bit more mysterious, sensual. I would never describe myself as any of those things, but whenever I want to feel like I am, that is the color that I will use. But that is my best makeup that I have tried in 2020. Hold on. Is this the last video that I'm gonna make in 2020? Oh my god, this very well could be. It's either the last or maybe the second to last, but that's crazy to think about. But I hope that you enjoyed, and if you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and feel free to comment down below what other videos you'd like to see from me. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing if you haven't already. I try to post new videos every single week. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!